What's up, PK?
What's up, gang?
How's it going, man? Thanks for joining us. You sound good. You look great.
Joining in the robe, too.
Hell of a flight over yesterday, but I got through it.
Yeah, something scary happened on the plane?
Nothing scary. I think everybody was a little bit scared when I was face down in my seat, but other than that, no.
You got caught sleeping. It's a weird way to sleep. Who sleeps on their nose?
I think what had happened was I had a nice lean, and then at some point, I lost touch with the outside of my seat. And Emily Kaplan, who sits beside me, I'm sure she was avoiding me at all costs because I was leaning over halfway into her seat. And somehow, I think I was moved. Somehow I ended up face down. So, yeah, the guys had fun with it, and as they should. But I was out cold. That was not staged. That's 100%. That's a real picture. That's something that I'm going to have to understand. It's going to live on forever. And I'm happy. I'm happy about it. It is what it is. Sometimes you just get caught slipping.
I'll ask you again, who sleeps on their nose?
I don't know another person who does that.
I don't. So. Put it on the poll, please.
I don't.
Put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Do you know anyone who sleeps on their nose? What can you tell us about the robe that you're present? Is that Four Seasons? That looks like a fine quality robe.
It's a Fairmont. It's a Fairmont here in Edmonton. Fairmont has the best beds, best robes, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, every time I sleep in one of these beds, I get a crazy shutdown, and the robes are A1 robes. So this is Fairmont stuff right here I got on today.
I want to play for you here some sound that we delighted in the other day. Somehow I'm getting blamed for takes from Greg Cote that I simply don't endorse here. But let's play this sound here for PK and for the audience.
I think the Conn Smythe Trophy, the MVP of the playoffs, should go to the best team in the playoffs, and that's the team that wins the Stanley Cup. That's my opinion. But there is no question, Dan Le Batard Show included, anybody else, that this guy is the best player on the planet.
Now, I've got to yell at you because you told us the last time you were on with us that Barkov was the best player on the planet.
No, I said Barkov was the best two-way player on the planet. He ain't the best player.
That's different.
He's not.
Good clarification.
It's different.
Yeah.
So is Connor so much better at offense that he's the better player in the world, even though he doesn't play defense as well as Barkov?
Well, first, Sasha Barkov is one of my favorite players to watch, not only because of what he does on the ice, because of some of the charitable initiatives he's also involved in off the ice, which a lot of people don't really know about. So I know some people from Sasha's team because I used some of the same people when I was playing. His game, there's no one like Sasha Barkov in the league. The closest player that you can maybe say maybe it would have been Anze Kopitar, in his heyday. But Sasha Barkov is by far the best two-way player in the game right now. It's not even close. But when it comes to Connor McDavid, cut everybody, take everybody off the table. He stands alone with his skill set and his ability, and now his leadership skills that he's showing on the biggest stage in the world for his sport, one of the biggest stages for sports in the world, it's separating himself from a lot of people, and actually not just separating himself from the rest of his peers, putting himself in a category with all-time greats. So, unless you are doing that and doing it the way that he's doing it, because he's doing it statistically, and then he's doing it with the eye test, right? So he gets the double thumbs up. He gets the double thumbs up statistically and with the eye test. He's been absolutely remarkable. So he's definitely the greatest player in the world right now, and I think he's going to go down as maybe the greatest when it's all said and done, his skill set. I mean, Wayne Gretzky's Wayne Gretzky, but Connor McDavid, I think there's a place for him on Mount Rushmore when it's all said and done.
This has been a difficult series to break down and try to rein in the emotion, because when it was 3-0, that probably wasn't the deserved result to that point. And now people, understandably, when there's an 8-1 on the board and when you go up 3-0 in Game 5, you're going to overreact probably the other way and think that Edmonton has full control here. What do you expect in possibly the next 2 games? Is this series going to settle down some? Is rationale going to play out here a little bit, or are we just going to swing wildly like we have been thus far?
Okay, well, Connor McDavid's play has played a big role in where the series is now, right? The fact that they have an opportunity to do that. But it's not just him. We go back to game 4. Game 4, Warren Fogle, Holloway, Connor Brown, Darnell Nurse, who else chipped in?
Janmark, yeah.
Matthias Janmark. Their depth players played phenomenal. Their depth players came out of nowhere. And that, to me, was the biggest change in the series. Forget Bobrovsky for a second, because Bobrovsky's going to be Bobrovsky. Goaltender's always going to be a little hot and cold. I'm not worried about it. He's elite. But when the other team's depth players, when the Edmonton's depth players come alive and become impactful players in the series, find their confidence in their skating legs, that's trouble for Florida. Because it's a lot easier to have to focus on a couple players to key on. And really, that's what they had to do in the first 3 games, as far as I'm concerned. Edmonton played great, but keeping Connor McDavid and containing them and really eroding at their confidence on the power play seemed to be happening game in and game out. That's why I said I thought this thing would be over in 4. I just didn't see the confidence throughout the team. Connor was going, but not everybody else was. Well, in game 4, that changed. Everybody else got going. Everybody's getting confidence. And when you're playing like that, when the adrenaline starts pumping and you're playing loose, all of a sudden now those bumps and bruises, you're not feeling them. All of a sudden now those heavy legs, after 3 weeks of playing postseason hockey, don't feel as heavy anymore. And now Stuart Skinner's seeing the puck like it's a beach ball. So and then couple that with the greatest player that we've seen in my generation, engineered player who's now on the world's biggest stage, who has an opportunity to create history, who's going into every game, getting more and more confident. It's a bad recipe for the Florida Panthers. That's the issue right now. So the only positive thing that I would take from them is, there's definitely more pressure on Edmonton. To win those 2 games and then come and lose game 6 on home ice would definitely be devastating. So there's going to be some pressure on them in game 6. But the other positive thing is, where's Leon Draisaitl? Leon Draisaitl has yet to find his game in the finals. It doesn't mean he's been bad. He just hasn't been Leon, and he needs to be elite. And I think in game 6, if he doesn't find his game in game 6, I think this thing could still be over. I think Florida's going to have Edmonton's going to have trouble closing this thing out without Leon Draisaitl putting his fingerprints on a hockey game in this series, unless Connor McDavid continues to put up 4 points a game, which is possible. So, that's the series in a nutshell right now. Now you're looking at possibly 2 games, game by game. Game 6, wow, what a game. This is what we want in hockey. This is the pressure we want on these players, and I think we're going to get the best out of all these guys.
What does hockey want? If I ask you, does anyone outside of South Florida want the Panthers to win?
Well, I'm a fan of the Florida Panthers team because of the way they play the game. I love their style. I love their physicality. I love their coach, Paul Maurice. I love Bobrovsky. I love Matthew Tkachuk and his leadership. I love that they are a team. I do. And I've watched them go through it. I watched them go to the finals last year and get in, and I wanted them to win. I feel very similar to the Edmonton Oilers this year, the way that I felt towards the Florida Panthers last year, and wanting to see them get more in the finals, but it just didn't happen. And I think now it's very difficult to find your game when you're not fighting for your life. Edmonton's been fighting for their dreams and hopes the past 2 games. It's difficult to match that desperation. This is all experience that the Florida Panthers are learning now. So for some of those players, remember, they had 8 guys that weren't in the finals last year that did not play. Lusterino was on that team, did not play. All of those guys, are gaining that experience right now. Edmonton's got some experience on that team. Corey Perry scored a big goal. Darnell Nurse has been around a while. So they got some experience on that team. For the Florida Panthers, I definitely would love to see them win. But Connor McDavid, man.
People want to see this crowning
His
achievement. People want to see him have that moment because of his greatness.
You're going to have to beat the Michael Jordan of hockey today. You're going to have to beat that guy, and it's going to be difficult to do. Guys are going to have to play their best brand of hockey. Florida did not play well enough in Game 5 and did not play well enough in Game 4. Connor McDavid was the best player on the ice, and Edmonton was the better team. That was not how the first 3 games went in the series. So Florida's got to change that, and it starts with their depth players. You cannot allow Edmonton's depth players to come out and outwork you in a 60-minute game.
Well,
Connor Brown is unbelievable on the penalty kill right now. He's the best depth player on both teams.
Well,
it can't happen.
You mentioned the depth players, though, and a lot of these depth players for Florida since Game 3 have found themselves on the ice with Connor McDavid, because one of the adjustments that's gone understated, I think, in the coverage is Chris Knobloch figured something out, and he's trying to get McDavid on the ice as much as humanly possible when Barkov is not. If you're Paul Maurice, do you up the time on ice for guys like Barkov and guys like Forsling, who's already proven in this series that he can go half the game on the ice, because McDavid is absolutely seizing on the time that he's on that ice without Barkov?
McDavid played, 24 minutes last game? I think it was 24 minutes.
7 or 8.
I think that was like one of his – well, how much was it?
No, he said 7 or 8 because that's what Greg Cote thought. It doesn't matter. It's about 24 minutes. He's playing a lot more minutes than he has played. He's playing enough minutes that you would think fatigue would catch up to him, and especially they're playing him long bursts at the end of games.
100%. And don't quote me here, but I believe last game was like one of his lowest. I think it was 24 minutes, and that was the lowest that he had played. I think of the series. Don't quote me. Maybe I'm wrong.
It is. It's 24-37.
You've been quoted.
It was 17 minutes in Game 4, but that's only because it was such a blowout.
Yes, correct. So, guys, he's not getting overworked. I'm watching him. The back check that he had on Kyle Okaposo last game from his own end, he's driving down the wall. That's one of the best back checks I've ever seen in a playoff game. And he's doing everything else right now. So when I say this is their best player and this is their leader and he's playing that way, guys, he's impacting the game in every single way. Defensively, offensively, he's intimidating. Believe it or not, the Florida Panthers are intimidated by this guy every time he's on the ice. You asked me about Coach Knobloch getting McDavid on the ice as much as he can without Barkov on the ice. Well, Paul Maurice is going to make his adjustments, but it is a long series. He knows that this series – I'm going to when it was 3-0 and he's watching his team play, forget Edmonton. When he watches his team play, he knows what's going on. This guy has coached more games than anybody else in the National Hockey League. He's not going to lose his composure. He knows it's Game 6, Game 7. They're up 3-2. They're still in control. He knows that he's got some cards that he hasn't played yet. So we'll see what happens. In Game 6, there might be some guys that don't leave the ice in Game 6. There might be, right? Forsling may not leave the ice in Game 6. Ekblad may not leave the ice in Game 6. Barkov might be getting more time. So, but you can't do that every game. You have to make sure that guys are still fresh. Like McDavid only played 24 minutes. He's fresh. He's as fresh as he's going to feel. So the game within the game is definitely going to be something to watch for, definitely in Game 6 and the adjustments that both coaches make.
Coverage starts from Edmonton on Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern with The Point on ESPN. The game starts at 8 p.m. on ABC. Thank you, PK. It's been good talking to you.
No problem. And, Dan, I'm not blaming you. I wasn't blaming you. I wasn't blaming you or your show. I was just, that I can't listen to somebody today at any time. Listen, I understand people are fans of their team, but Connor McDavid's the face of the league, and I don't promote any hockey player. As a guy who just got removed from the sport 2 years ago, I would never, ever talk about a player the way I talk about Connor McDavid if it was not the truth. This guy is the best hockey player on the planet right now. He's the most talented, he's the most skilled, and now he's one of the best leaders in the game. You got to respect that, win or lose.
You're not. You're not blasting me, but clearly Steve Levy is. And again, I've not endorsed this point. Look at this here. You tell me that Steve Levy's not coming specifically after me.
Connor McDavid saying it now, and he's doing it on the biggest stage. Leave, buckle up.
Yeah, I'm buckled already.
Don't get me going. He's all world, this guy.
I think overrated. Wait, did someone say overrated?
Overrated.
What's going on? Dan Le Batard.
That's obvious.
Oh my
That
goodness.
elbow room glow on Steve Levy.
Thank you,
That
PK.
was great. Hey, thank you guys. Thank you so much. That's awesome. I'll talk to Steve about it. Let me iron some things out. We'll get to the bottom of it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.